Hey guys, do you have a chicken that looks like this? You just don't want normal chicken? Well, I'm going to teach you how to make a very easy to make homemade pot pie. And the only thing I'm cheating on is the crust. And the reason why I'm cheating on the crust is I have no counter space in this place to make a crust. Otherwise I would. This is the pie crust I usually use. It comes in like a box like this. And it looks like this when you pull it out. You will need to thaw it, because otherwise you're not going to get this sucker unrolled. And then the fun part comes. Your chicken, like this, what you're going to do is you're going to tear as many pieces off of your chicken, and you want to make them like, you know, bite-sized. Wash your hands. Always wash your hands before you touch food. Well, you get the idea. You basically break it off into tiny little chunks like this until the carcass is completely empty of meat. I even turn it over and I get all the dark meat on the bottom as well. Alright, I got my chicken down to her bare innards. A lot more naked than she was hoping to ever be. But as producers, that's what we're good for, right? And you're just going to want to make sure that there's no cartilage or bone in the meat that you're putting in here, because it's not very fun to chew down on. Whenever I have a turkey, I'll make 2 pot pies, and then I'll freeze it before I bake it. So that way then, whenever it comes time for me to want to make pot pie, I just pull it out of the freezer, stick it in the oven, and then you just cook it until it's boiling out the top. But then you're going to want to get vegetables like this. This is carrots, corn, peas, green beans, and lima beans. I'd prefer it without lima beans myself, but this is the only one that I found in the store that that came close to what I wanted. Your pie can be heaping. That's not a big deal, as long as the crust that you're going to put over top of it fits. And you're also going to want to put broth in here too. So you also have to take in consideration, like, how much room are you leaving for the broth? How moist do you want this pie to be? Because if you fill it up with too much vegetables or too much chicken, you're not going to have enough for broth, and then it could become pretty dry. So my oven on 350. We're going to heat up the crust before we put the stuff in it so it doesn't get all soggy on the bottom. And I heated up my broth from last night. It's basically the stuff that came off of like the chicken, because I knew I was going to make pot pie. And before I heated it up, there was a layer of fat on top, and I just scraped all that fat off, and this is what I was left with. You're going to take a tablespoon and fill it full of flour or cornstarch, and you kind of want a little bit heaping, and then you're just going to put it into a bowl, and you're going to have ice cold water. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your cold water and you're going to slowly pour it into your flour. And you're not going to want to put it in too fast, because I'm getting more on the counter than I am in my bowl. You want to keep it stirring because you don't want the flour to kind of clump. You want it nice and smooth. And what this is going to go into is your broth. And whenever you put it into your broth, what it's going to do is it's going to thicken it up, kind of like gravy, and that way then your broth isn't just pure liquid. And you're going to get it a little bit thinner than this, but not by much. Okay. Kind of want it like silt that you find in the bottom of lake beds, almost. Like that right there is pretty good. I don't know if you can see very well, but it's kind of like a kind of like a, I don't even know how to describe it. It's liquidy, but it's not super stringy, but hopefully you can kind of see what that looks like. And what you're going to do is you're just going to whisk that into your broth. And it's say if you forgot, what you could do is you could kind of put it on top of your vegetables after your broth has been put on top of it. And then just kind of mix it up a little bit. It won't matter. And that will thicken up your broth. And what I do is like I put the screen in there and then I just pour this over top of it. Oh. And therefore I have all my broth, but I don't have, like, that's mainly stuffing from yesterday. Looks gross, but it's not. And then I have it in with my chicken. I would actually prefer a little bit more broth than what I have in here. You can see it. And what I usually use to flavor my chicken, say if I'm not making it from the night before, or I'm using actual chicken broth in a can, which they usually are about, I don't know, they're pretty big. I usually get chicken broth in a can that's actually bigger than this. But I flavor it with basil, and I flavor it with like onion powder, a little salt, don't over salt it though, garlic, and black pepper. That's what I usually put in my pot pies. And guys, everything in the pot pie is pre-cooked, so if you're making it from chicken breasts that like you're pulling out of the freezer, just make sure you cook it first, and you can season the chicken before and after. And as I said, since it's pre-cooked, you can actually taste it and see if you like the way it tastes, and if you do, then you're on the right track. So, because it's going to taste very similar to what it tastes before you put it in the pie. It's just going to taste better because you're going to let it have time to cook all together. So, and that's the start to your pot pie. So yeah, just go ahead and season it to the full flavor that you want it to be. I'm going to probably try this, and if I feel like I need to add any extra, I will. Alright, once you get your pie crust all basically unraveled or made, depending upon what you decide to do, you just basically put it in your pan as best as you can. See, I was a little impatient and tried to unroll this because I didn't let it sit to warm up long enough. So I got like a crack in it. So all you're going to do is you're just going to push that together like so. No big deal. And, you know, you're going to give yourself a lip basically up at the top, because this is going to have a pie crust on top as well. And when it covers over top of it, you want it to have something to grab hold of, which I'll show you later. So, sorry, it's hard to do this with one hand in the camera. But after you get this all straightened up, I'm going to probably straighten this up a little bit after I put the camera down. You're going to want to take a fork and just poke little tiny holes like so all over the pie bottom. And what this will do is it'll prevent bubbles from happening. And I'm going to do all this, and then I'll show you the end result. Alright, this is what the bottom should look like. And then what you're going to do is you're going to stick it in the oven like so, just until it gets a little bit crispy, about about 5 minutes. And that'll prevent the bottom from getting all soggy and gross, and it'll actually make it a lot better for whenever you're trying to get it out of the pie as well. So, but don't walk away, because if you walk away, then you're going to be cursing like I usually do, because you don't want to overcook it, and then you don't want to have to go get another pie crust bottom. So just keep an eye on it. Don't walk away. This is what it should look like. It's, you know, just a little bit crispier. It's not as doughy. Just be careful, it's hot. And then all you do is fill it up with the stuffing. I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you how to put it on the top. Alright, and this is the pie after it's been filled. I could actually put a little bit more in there, but I didn't have any more. So that'll do. And then you take your top, and you just put it over top. And what you're going to do is you're going to pinch the sides. And depending upon how you want to do it, I usually, sorry, it's hard to do this with one hand. I usually kind of do like this pinch motion. It's not coming out very nice. It's okay. Homemade pies are supposed to look homemade. That's what makes them so good. That's why mother's cookings are always better than restaurant cooking. Or grandma's cooking. Anyways, I'm going to finish this. You get the gist of it. If you have a little crack in the top, like so, you could just kind of just push it together. It's not really that big of a deal if you have a little slit in the top. Usually what I do when I have two hands, I'll just like push it together from underneath and on top and kind of squeeze it together. But you're going to cut slits in it anyway, so that's not a big deal. Don't panic. I'm going to fix this up and then I'll show you how to do the slits, and then all you have to do is cook it. So this is my pie after I fixed the crust. Not necessarily the best looking crust I've ever done, but it's not the worst either. Practice makes perfect, guys. And then all you do is you're going to want to cut some vent holes. So I usually, it's going to be interesting doing this with one hand, but I usually do like a little hole in the middle. Oops. Oh, well, I lost it. And I usually pull it out, but yeah, it's no big deal. And then, you know, you could do some slits like this down each side. Oop. It's hard doing this with one hand. And, you know, if you want to get fancy with it, you can. Like, do something like where you do a little hole on this side. However you want, as long as you have a few vent holes in there. And then you're going to put it in the oven. And basically, should be cool. Hopefully I don't spill it everywhere. And put it about the middle of the rack. I'm cooking it at 350. Oh, 350. And you're basically just going to cook it until it starts bubbling on the top and the crust is nice and golden. Now, if you don't want the outside of the crust to be too golden, like if your oven heats kind of uneven, what you could do is you could take tin foil and kind of put that around your edges, so then your edges don't get too golden. So that's a little trick that you could do. Alright, this is my pie, and I don't know if you could see it bubbling. There. Hopefully you can. But the top is nice and golden, and it smells delicious. And that's how you make pot pie. And hopefully this helps you out. And hopefully I'll come up with another fun recipe that I know of that I could share with you guys. So, thank you for watching. Bye.